We're joined once again with Ryan Selby, CEO of PODA Lifestyle and Wellness, to discuss several key developments that have been recently announced and that investors should be paying attention to. Just a reminder, you can click on the eye in the corner of your screen, which brings you to a playlist of all the different interviews we've done with Ryan and his team to better help people understand the story that his company's putting together, but also continuing to build upon. And speaking about building upon, we're bringing back Ryan, my good sir, welcome. We've got some things to talk about today.
Hey, thanks for having me. Always glad to be here. And yeah, definitely lots of exciting things happening.
Well, why don't we start with the most recent one? You just recently had a supply deal with Greenbutts, a biodegradable filter manufacturer. Can you give us, investors more of an insight of what that really means for your PODA products?
Yeah, so we're very excited about this. From a very high level, this really completes the biodegradable picture for PODA as the world's first biodegradable heat-not-burn cigarette. And so, I've talked about our biodegradable pods before. We've got a real fantastic biodegradable material that we use to make the capsules. But in the cigarette world, really the far and away leader in cigarette filter technology is a type of filter called cellulose acetate. It really delivers a fantastic filtering experience, the good mouthfeel and sensory experience people are used to, and it's a low cost and efficient way of using a filter in a cigarette. The downside of cellulose acetate is that it actually never biodegrades. It does break down after about 7 to 15 years. But even at that point, it just breaks down into little microplastics, which are really things we want to avoid putting into the environment. And so for PODA, we have been working on developing our own biodegradable options. Not as easy as it sounds to come up with a biodegradable filter that performs and functions every bit as well as an acetate filter. And so we have been working with a company called Greenbutts, who basically have spent the last 10 years focusing exclusively on developing what they believe is the next generation for cigarette filters globally. Their filters perform very well in the PODA system. And with the inclusion of the Greenbutts fully biodegradable filter, it makes our pods 100% biodegradable. And that's something that I'm really passionate about. I want to sell hundreds of billions of these products. And the last thing I want to do is put hundreds of billions of pieces of trash or microplastics into the environment. And so solidifying a supply agreement with Greenbutts provides us with a consistent and reliable supply of high quality, 100% biodegradable filters. And that's, I think, a fantastic step for us as we continue to expand on a global level.
Yeah, very well said, and I appreciate this. I actually knew this company prior. I didn't know about this deal going on. I was looking into that separately, and I really liked what they were doing because it's solving such a major issue. There's well over 1 billion smokers. Imagine how many cigarettes they're having a day, and a week, and a month, and a year. It's billions upon billions just thrown everywhere. So very excited about that, and that is now a part of your PODA products. Now, recently, you also had the closing of a strategic investment. There's a strategic investor that came in for $15 million at a $2 price point. Can you speak about, what it means to have that investor really put that faith, saying this is where I see the share price and the value of your company, but also can you hint a little bit about where some of that capital may be going?
Yeah, absolutely. That was a real accomplishment for us as a company, and like you said, a fantastic validation of really what we're doing and the product we've developed and the roadmap that we've laid out for growing into truly a global heat-not-burn cigarette supplier. And so, yeah, this investor really believes in the product and the IP portfolio that we've developed, and I think sees the roadmap that we're looking at to say we have an incredible amount of blue sky ahead of us here. And hopefully this 15 million is just the beginning of some of the larger investment that we will be using to scale up our production facilities as we continue to expand our production. With this investment, we will be able to dramatically increase our monthly capacities. Currently we're producing about 400,000 pods per month, which sounds like a large number, but in the fast-moving consumer goods tobacco space, that's really a teeny tiny drop in the bucket. To put it in comparison, our largest competitor, and probably our main competitor in the space, IQOS by Philip Morris, They're on track to sell over 100 billion of their heat sticks this year. And so, for PODA to compete with them, we really need to increase our scale. And I think we've developed a product that in many ways is far superior to the IQOS offering. And now to have the capital to begin to deploy towards really starting to scale up our capacity, it's a really huge milestone for us as a company. And it's something that I think investors should pay attention to over the coming weeks and months as we scale up production, and then we start to be able to really deliver our product into the market in a much bigger way. So fantastic to have that happen, and definitely feels very good to have that level of validation of what we're doing. So
yeah, I appreciate you diving into it like that. And it is exciting to see that validation. And speaking of validation, not just from a stock standpoint, but also as a company standpoint, your company recently just announced as well, you hired Dr. Jagmeet Gupta as your chief medical officer, and shortly after commenced your first clinical trial for using your devices as cessation products for smoking. Can you dive a little bit more into what brought Dr. Gupta to your team, but also a little bit more about that clinical trial as well?
Yeah, so this is another very exciting development. It's something that I'm personally very passionate about. As I've said before, I think the best choice, hands down, that any current smoker can make is to quit smoking. For those individuals who are unable to quit smoking, PODA aims to offer an exceptional replacement product that potentially can dramatically reduce the risks associated with combustible smoking. But the goal for many smokers should still be to quit smoking. And that's where PODA has a huge opportunity to provide what I believe can be one of the most effective smoking cessation tools ever made. And that's because we can replicate many of the same experiences of smoking while using a tailored step-down nicotine system to gradually wean customers off of nicotine, so that the actual act of quitting can be much easier than trying to go cold turkey. Many of the other available quitting technologies, such as gums or patches, they replicate the nicotine experience in your body, but they fail to adequately replicate the smoking experience, the oral fixation, the flavor, a lot of the ritual and things that go along with traditional smoking. And that's why many people find that they don't work as well as they would hope they do. And so that's one very exciting aspect of bringing on Dr. Gupta to our team, and having him to oversee and develop initially the clinical pilot studies, moving into the clinical trials, and then eventually moving into a large scale deployment of effective smoking cessation products, should the evidence warrant that. Another very exciting avenue for us is the possibility of delivering a whole host of different therapeutic molecules which can be consumed through inhalation. And so that's something where I think the future of therapeutic medicine, there's a fantastic opportunity for PODA to be used as a delivery vehicle for a whole host of different inhalable molecules. And that could range from anywhere from, a common chest cold. We could have therapeutic molecules that might help you get over the cold quicker, other treatment opportunities for other diseases, and a whole host of other potential medical areas. And that's why, as a company, we really decided it's important for us to focus on not only the tobacco aspect of our product, but also on other positive impacts that we can make at a societal level. And so we brought on Dr. Gupta as Chief Medical Officer. He's a really experienced and pedigreed practicing doctor with a number of current medical practices. He has a lot of experience in pain management and treating addiction. And so for him, this is something that was very exciting as a potentially extremely useful smoking cessation tool, as well as a potential therapeutic for a number of other ailments. And so, I think as we continue to move forward, we'll be bringing out additional news regarding developments that Dr. Gupta makes for applications for the PODA product into the medical space. And that's something I think that's also very exciting about our product, is the ability with our closed-ended pod to use a whole host of different substances all through the same device. There's no cross-contamination between substances, very reliable dosing, and a consistent experience for users. And I think that's something that is extremely unique across the heat not burn space, having the opportunity to work with a whole host of different substances all through the same device. So yeah, these are exciting times for us, and it's also, like I said, something I'm personally very passionate about, and contributing to society and to the overall health and well-being of not only the 1.3 billion current smokers in the world, but potentially many other individuals who could benefit from PODA's products.
Yeah, and once again, I really appreciate that detailed answer, because there are elements in your answer that show that, yes, you're doing these trials, yes, you're going on this one for cessation products, but clearly you've got a few ideas that you're probably working on in the background that I'm sure we'll hear about in due time on different areas within the medical world. So that's very important for investors to catch on, maybe rewind and re-listen to that again. That's an important part there. But sticking to the additions to your team, I'd also like to bring up, it's been about 4 weeks or now that you've had Nick Kadysh and Mike Nederhoff, 2 additions to your global advisory board. Can you speak on any talks that you've had on potential plans or what these two have brought to the team so far within the first month of them being a part of PODA?
Yeah, I mean, I really can't say enough good things about them. Their connections are really incredible. Just the number of connections and meetings that I've been able to have through both Nick and Michael, as well as some of the advice and expertise that they're able to offer as we lay out our roadmap and really plan out our next steps for company growth. And then having someone with the expertise that Nick Kadysh has in terms of a regulatory approach has really already been fantastic for us, and is a really critical aspect as we begin to enter our product into different markets around the world. Obviously, we take a very, very serious approach to regulatory compliance. We want to make sure that every time we launch any product into any market, we're doing so with maximum compliance and with a sustainable view in mind. And so having Nick on the team to help guide and make high level as well as specific decisions on many aspects of what we're doing as a company really adds a huge amount of value. And then someone like Michael with his leadership experience and a lot of the, he's been in the room for so many high level discussions of very serious companies over his working history. And so to have that level of expertise and to have him on the team really is something I'm just so happy about, having both of them and the experience and expertise that they bring. So really, it's a fantastic development for us, and I can't say enough good things.
Yeah, great to hear. Great to hear. And lastly, on the last of the updates that have happened recently throughout these summer months, you recently obtained your DTC eligibility for your stock, which opens up investing to your company in a lot more for a lot more U.S. investors. Are you planning a U.S. marketing push now that is available so that more people can really get to understand, but get to know the PODA story?
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think this is really in keeping with the roadmap that I have laid out over the past months of, our goal is eventually to be on the NASDAQ and trading, as a serious global player in the global alternative tobacco space. And so having DTC eligibility is a really incredible next step for us, opens up a huge amount of investor market and potential for investors. Having the ability to trade our stocks over a number of platforms, I think really brings a lot more potential eyes on the stock itself, as well as gives us the next level of growth that's required for us to continue our upward trajectory on our listing platforms. So I'm thrilled. That was a lot of work for our team to get this across the line. But these accomplishments, I think, really are going to pay dividends for the company and for our existing and future investors. So fantastic news for us as well.
Yeah, and speaking about paying dividends, and what's coming up in the future for investors, I'd like to end off our interview today about, what is it that investors should have on their minds when it comes to PODA Lifestyle and Wellness? Like, what type of catalyst are we looking for? What should they be excited about really over the weeks and months leading into the new year?
Yeah, and that's a great question. And, I think we're at the phase in our growth trajectory where we've spent the last 6 years developing what I believe is the best heat not burn product ever made. We're now, we have a strong war chest in terms of capital that we've been able to pull in from a number of very good raises that we've done over the past weeks and months. And now we are building out the capacity to really start to scale out our actual on-the-ground operations and to roll out our product into a number of markets around the world. So from an investor point of view, I would say, the exciting catalysts coming up are really going to be sales of our product. As we enter new markets, we're going to enter a very rapid growth phase where we're going to try and continually expand operations while simultaneously ensuring that we support every market that we go into so that we never run into unforeseen circumstances or stock out situations. With our product, it's very important to have a continued and reliable supply of products for every single customer that converts to the PODA system. And so, that's something that we take very seriously. And as part of that, obviously building out continual increases in production capacity, as well as bringing on new distribution channels and partners, is really our focus as we move forward now. So I would say over the coming months, we plan to have a number of exciting announcements, both on the capacity and the sales side of the business. So stay tuned for those, and we'll be coming back with more information as it becomes available.
Yeah, exciting to hear. And once again, I appreciate taking the time today to go through some really, really detailed answers to some of the reasons behind the news releases that you're putting out over this last few weeks, the people you're bringing on, the direction you're taking your company. I really appreciate that because it's important for investors to know that information, to hear it, to have a better understanding of the opportunity that PODA has for them. So once again, Ryan, thank you very much for your time. I look forward to speaking to you again in the very near future as well.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate your time as well. Always a pleasure to be here and look forward to coming back soon. So take care.